native call from the hello-jni.java. So this is the Java method which is used. So what is the another method called? That is the JNI onload method. So why should we go for a JNI onload method? This is the JNI onload method is actually provided from the from the Android open source project. So it's actually a proven method. So you are safe there. When you're using JNI onload, you're not exposed to any surprises that okay, some Java class crashed there, or it did not register the methods. So all these kind of problems are not going to come up on JNI onload. So most of them prefer JNI onload method for linking your native code to the Java class. So and adding and removing native functions is also easy here. And also there is a best spot for caching your Java class object. So this is also one of the added advantages on JNI onload method. So how does the JNI onload method look? So if you see here, again it's going to be again a JString from the JNI string from the JNI, which you actually will be invoking from your Java class. So this Java class is in your source folder, where actually I showed you the .java file. So what you are doing here is you are going to string from JNI, and you give the JNI environment, that is the objects available for the JNI onload. And when you come to the JNI onload method, actual onload method, what you do here is you give a entry point to the for loading your Java classes. So this actually you can, the samples will give you more insight on JNI onload method, where actually you get to see how JNI onload is called from the C++ libraries to the Java class. Okay. So the demo was done for the migration. So I would like to give one more demo before getting on to the optimization method, where actually it will give you insight on Dalvik versus NDK applications. So here I've linked to one of the x86 platforms. So if you can see the screen here, this is linked to one of the x86 phones. So here I have the code for both Dalvik and the JNI and NDK. So what I'll do here is I'll run a small application which is called the Fibonacci application. So this Fibonacci application is a mathematical intensive function where actually you are using recursive calls. So this recursive calls, let's see how actually is implemented both in Dalvik and native. So which gives the better performance. So let's give a random input and see the result of Dalvik and native. So if you can see here, in the Dalvik recursive function, you got around 2100 milliseconds, and in native recursive you got around 195 milliseconds. It's almost more than 10x performance improvement which you get from the native recursive. So this is the performance in Dalvik and native. So this gives you an insight what kind of application you want to develop. A simple mathematical application can give you a 10x of performance improvement. Then imagine the complex algorithms like encoding, decoding, and gaming. How much performance improvement can be utilized in NDK? So after the demo, let's get into some of the optimization steps which are available for NDK applications on x86. Okay. In optimization, I would like to mention two types of optimizations which are available for x86 platform. So one of them is the vectorization. So in the earlier files already I had mentioned on FFE3. So the SIM instructions which are available on for x86 gives you a lot of performance improvement in terms of the mathematical operations. Like for example, you have as I mentioned in the Fibonacci series, you have a recursive functions happening where actually you have cumulative additions, cumulative multiplications happening. So these kind of mathematical functions can be very well optimized using vectorization. So the SSE 4.2 is available for the Intel Silvermont microarchitecture, where actually you can perform an operation of 16 bytes at a time. So this is the kind of optimization level which you can achieve using SSE 4.2. So there are also other vectorizations in non-Intel platforms, like in ARM you have the ARM Neon instructions. So as I mentioned, there are like two types of instruction sets in vectorization. One is the compiler auto vectorization, and the other is the compiler intrinsic. So in the compiler auto vectorization, what happens is you are mentioning it, telling that use SSE 4.2. So this is how I would tell, you are forcing your compiler to use some of the optimization steps for that particular platform, like SSE 4.2 for the Bay-Trail platform from Intel. And the other is the compiler intrinsics. So when you use like Intel C++ compiler is there. So these are the compiler intrinsics which are integrated into the compiler itself. So you don't have to really go and mention telling that use this SSE 4.2 for this kind of vectorization. So the intrinsics automatically come up on that particular platform, and they optimize for you in order to achieve this vectorization. And the next is the GCC flags. So there are a lot of GCC flags which are available for optimization. In order to achieve, for example, in mathematical performance, you can go for FF fast math flag. This FF fast math flag actually gives you kind of as I already mentioned, the kind of optimization for the floating point operations in mathematics. So these kind of optimizations can be achieved using FF fast math, and the MTune flag actually gives you the CPU specific instructions for optimization. For example, when you mention MTune equal to Atom, so this is going to optimize your C++ code for Atom platform. So, and you give MTune equal to SLM, that is for Silvermont. So this is going to again optimize for that particular platform. So when I tell optimize it for that particular platform, so SSE 4.2 is available for Silvermont I mentioned. So it's going to start using 16-byte operations instead of the previous one, which was for SSE 3. So this is the advantage of MTune flag. So yeah, so we came up with lot of demos, and lot of demos which showed the performance of Dalvik and NDK also. So let's summarize all these things. Like, what did we achieve when you developed an NDK application? So the main intention of NDK application development was performance for critical applications. Critical applications like complex algorithms, mathematical intensive functions, all these things go for NDK. That's the best use case model for achieving your performance. And it's also easy to target multiple architectures. So when, as I mentioned already, NDK is already there in multiple architectures like ARM, Neon, MIPS. So the only thing which you have to take care of is your APK file, which actually platform you are targeting. Just mention it in your app ABI interface, which will give you that particular APK file. So you are targeting multiple architectures here. And for each architecture, as I mentioned, you're having your own type of optimization steps. So go for it and target multiple architectures. And there are a lot of tool chains which are available for NDK applications, development, deployment, and also optimization. So let it be from Intel and also from the third-party vendors. There are a lot of applications on NDK development. So on a summary, you have a critical application which for performance. Go for NDK. So this is all about the NDK application development on x86. So please, I'm opening up for questions now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nalina, for that presentation. I'm going to assign the questions to Suprabha now, or do you want me to assign the questions to both of you?
Yeah, both of us is fine. After all.
Okay. So I'm sending the questions in the chat window so that both of you can view it. Give me just a second.
Okay. We have a question from Amish Shukla asking, when we compile for all platforms, does it increase the